The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Texas. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. We bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. You know, I've had letters that said, why don't you ever read our emails or answer our letters? First of all, we get about 50 emails in a week. But many of the emails we got were people wanting us in our Texas market to get a tax relief attorney. And you can't just pick one out of the phone book. We were able to get one of the best tax relief attorneys out there. Very busy man because he does so well. He also handles the Tennessee and Missouri area. But this is for our Texas audience today. Let me welcome the great attorney, Lance Drury.
Well, good afternoon, Steve. How are you today?
How about that for an opening?
That's great. That's great. You're doing well. I think I'll keep you on.
Any man who works as hard as you do deserves that.
Well, thank you. Well, that's what we try to do. Oh, I love to work. I work 7 days a week. I would lose my purpose in life. I'm 71. I hope I'm working for another 10 years. Because this keeps me going. It gives me a reason to get out of bed early in the morning. And I think I'd lose that. I'm afraid I'd be dead in 6 months if I retired. But I really do like helping people out. We now have more than 1,000 clients at any one time. And I'm looking forward to the day when we have more than 1,500 clients at one time. And we're going to get there.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. So you are so busy in Tennessee and Missouri, and we were on the phone talking, and you said, I'm going to open up an office in San Antonio. And here you are, as busy as you are, and you're out there. I don't know how you're going to fit them in. I know you will because you're a hard worker, but you've got an office in San Antonio now, and congratulations.
Oh, no, we love it down there. I'll be going down there either in another 10 days or 2 weeks after that. I'm just trying to fix a time when I can see some people down there. So I don't know if it's going to be next week yet. I'm hoping, but we'll be down there in a few weeks at the latest again. And we plan on being there every 4 weeks for a while. And then once we build it up, I'm going to hire an attorney down there. And then we'll have somebody down there full time.
You know, we got a call right before the show, Lance, because they knew your show was coming on. And it basically said, I keep hearing about all these new agents the IRS is handling. And what does that mean to somebody like myself who's behind on my taxes?
Well, I can tell you July of this year was the highest revenue month we've ever had, which is highly unusual. People think that the biggest months are January through May because it's tax season. They think Uncle Sam's going to come after them harder then. And they normally put off their tax problems in the summer because they want to go on vacation. They want to go camping. They want to do other things in the summer. They don't want to take care of their tax problems. But the reason July this year was the highest revenue month is because the IRS is now actively levying people again, which means they can wipe out your bank account. They can take 90% of your take-home pay. They can take 15% of your Social Security. So all those nasty letters went out. All those nasty grams went out to people across the country, and it's only going to get worse. So you do not want to delay getting your tax problems solved, because Uncle Sam's going to catch up with you sooner or later. Now, in terms of all these additional personnel, I just had this discussion with somebody who's going to hire me about a half hour ago. And, they said, what's going to happen if Trump wins? And I said, well, if Trump wins and the Republicans control both houses, they're not going to abolish the IRS. But what I do see is that some of the money that's been expended for all of these additional agents and employees and all this additional funding for the IRS, some of that could go by the wayside. So, but it doesn't matter, because there's enough people out there, 25 million people, delinquent taxpayers. By the year 2032, it's going to be 35 million delinquent taxpayers. Wow. So I have plenty of work for the next years.
Lance, what I love about what you do is when someone gets that first letter from the IRS, I think a lot of people will put it in that drawer and think it's going to go away. But while that letter's in the drawer, they are so worried that they're going to get a knock on that door. But if they come to you and hire you, they don't have to worry about talking to the IRS anymore, do they?
No, in fact, we make it a condition of our continued employment that they not talk to the IRS, because if they do, then I don't know what's going on. And then it'll come back to my client will say, well, this is what I told them, or this is what they told me. And then you talk to the IRS and they'll say something entirely different, and I can't argue with them because I wasn't privy to that conversation.
Right. It's so important that they're very upfront with you once they sign on with you.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. And, we don't want them talking to the IRS. They are not your friend. It's like talking to the cops. If you're charged with a crime, they are not your buddy. They're just going to try to extract as much information out of you as possible and to collect as much taxes as they can from you. So they're not there to be your buddy.
When we had another person that contacted us, they wanted to know if you have to go through an audit, which is really scary to a lot of people. Can they hire you to sit with them through that audit?
Absolutely. In fact, they will be nowhere close to that audit. We don't want any of our clients to be anywhere close to the IRS. We don't want them answering questions. I've seen audits go criminal because of what people said during the audit. So you absolutely want an advocate during the audit because, you may say something that you shouldn't be saying, and then you're going to be looking at criminal charges, and you certainly don't want that to happen. So we stand between you and the IRS. We protect you from the IRS, and we'll get you the best possible result from the audit. The main thing is you better have the documentation, because if you don't have the documentation, neither I nor anybody else is going to be able to help you through that audit. So if you have expenses that they're auditing, such as car and truck expenses or transportation expenses, you better have the documentation, or you're not going to be able to take that as a deduction on your tax return or as a business expense.
So that means that what the IRS says you owe, they don't know anything about any of your write-offs at all. They're giving you a gross amount. So if you say that those documents,
they're going to be targeting certain expenses, because when your tax return is filed, if there's a number it doesn't look right, it gets red flagged, and that's what generates an audit. Or the other thing is that you underreport income, and there's more reported income, so they know that you underreported your income, and then they're going to look at different categories of expenses. So mostly the self-employed get audited.
Yes. What is a CP14, Lance?
A CP14 is the first notice that the IRS sends you, which notes the assessment of the tax. And before they can levy you, before they can wipe out your bank account, garnish your wages, they have to go through a whole series of letters before they can do that. And then you have appeal rights. All of this was passed in Congress in 1998 when Bill Clinton was president. Before that time, they could just go out and levy you without any prior notice. They can no longer do that. You now have an opportunity to stop the levy, have an appeal. That will buy you at least 6 months before for you to get your ducks in a row so that you can work something out with the IRS during that appeals hearing.
We just got a text in. I actually know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer it. Do you handle businesses?
All the time. 70% of my clients, maybe more, are self-employed individuals. Those are the people who get in trouble because the taxes aren't automatically taken out, and then they don't make their estimated tax payments, and then the problem just mushrooms, and those payroll taxes can escalate quickly. It's not uncommon to have people with unpaid payroll taxes in the 6 figures.
Oh, this is interesting. We just got a text, really enjoying your show. I live in North Carolina, but today I'm with family in Austin. We were wiped out by the hurricane. Is the IRS going to be lenient on us?
Well, I don't know in what sense you mean that they're going to be lenient on you.
Making payments for their business. I guess they pay quarterly.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything yet, but I know that in the past they have worked things out. Now they're not going to forgive the debt, but they may give you some time off in order to pay it. But yeah, they normally make some adjustments based upon, natural catastrophes such as what everybody in North Carolina has gone through. But I personally, and they may already have done it, I just haven't seen it yet.
Lance, what question, when people call you up, what question do you get from a lot of people?
Can you save me some money? And they think it's all based on what they owe. What's your track record if you owe $70,000 in terms of getting the debt forgiven? Well, guess what? It has nothing to do with what you owe. It's all based upon your ability to pay it back. I can't play Monty Hall and call them up and said, let's make a deal. I wish you did. I wouldn't have to work so hard. But we got to go through financial statements, bank statements, credit card statements. We have to prove to the IRS that you don't have the ability to pay it back. The good news is 85 to 90% of my clients, maybe a little more, never pay back the full amount. 10 to 15%, maybe a little more, never pay a dime. But we have to prove to the IRS that you have a financial hardship and can't pay any of the monies back. So if you make $150,000, $200,000 a year, you're likely not going to get anything forgiven except for penalties. But I just had a gentleman makes $500,000 a year. He works in Nashville. He owes $500,000. We just got $100,000 of that liability knocked off in September because the clock ran out on collections. So about 15% of the time we can just run out the clock and the debt goes away because the IRS doesn't have forever to collect the tax.
Here's a good question, just came in. This is from San Marcos. That's right down the road from San Antonio. A friend of mine told me about your show, tuned in. I'm really enjoying it. Is it true what you hear on TV about 10 cents on the dollar? Is that really true?
Well, it happens. But they don't know that ahead. You got to do a lot of work before you know exactly how much your client's going to have to pay back or what you can settle for. So there's an interesting thing going around. There's a scam. There's a lot of scam artists out there. So you have to watch it. And people will get what looks like an official notice from the IRS that says we can settle this for 10 cents on the dollar. And we know it's a scam because there's no physical address. There's an 888 number, and they don't know what you can settle for without going through all the financials. And so, like I said, it's all based on your ability to pay. Those people that are sending those notices, they don't have any clue because they haven't done their homework yet.
I got to tell you, this is really in your favor. There's a lot of big companies out there, and they have huge ad budgets. And I have been reading about these companies, and Lance, it looks like these people just take your money, and after they've got your money, people hardly ever hear back from them again.
Oh, that's correct. And they never tell you what it's going to cost. They just keep asking for money. So I tell everybody, if you don't hire me, there's 3 rules. You hire an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but I've seen, and every attorney in my office has seen accountants just give atrocious advice to their clients because they just dabble in it. 90% of what they do is tax preparation. It's not dealing with the IRS. We spend 50 to 100 hours or more a year just keeping up with this. In 2 weeks, we have a 3-day conference. We're going to do over 20 hours in 3 days of just tax representation with the IRS. Secondly, go local. And third, don't hire one of the big boys. They just take your money, a lot of them, and they don't do anything for you.
And customer service is very important to your practice.
Yes, it is. We try to contact our clients at least once a month. If we're not going to do that, we're going to tell them ahead of time, I won't be contacting you for 2 or 3 months because nothing's going to happen. That way they know what's going on. But, that's the biggest complaint that are filed with the bar associations in each of the respective states. And that is my attorney is not communicating with me. So that is people's number one complaint to the bars in each of the states. And so that's why it's so critical. And even if nothing's going on, we try to reach out to people on a periodic basis.
We're getting a lot. This is your second live show, and we're already getting a lot of text. This one is from San Antonio. They want to know, what is this Fresh Start program I hear about?
Well, it's really just a term of art. A lot of people try to talk it up. It did when they instituted this, and I believe it was around 2012, 2014. They did make it easier for people to get offers in compromise, and I'm not going to go into all the reasons why. But now more offers are being accepted. But it still comes down to one thing, and that is, do you have the ability to pay the tax back or not? And we still have to prove to them, no matter what you call it, Fresh Start or otherwise, we still have to prove to them that people don't have the ability to pay it all back.
I keep hearing the biggest trouble that businesses get in trouble with is those taxes, withholding taxes that they're not paying. You can get in a lot of trouble for that, can't you?
Yes, the payroll taxes are probably their highest priority, and they're not going to allow a business to keep pyramiding payroll tax liability. They're just going to shut you down eventually. But that is one of their biggest concerns. And the other problem is for those people is, the portion of the payroll tax that's attributable to the employee that's not being paid. They're going to come after you personally. That's generally 50 to 60% of the tax. That's called the trust fund civil penalty. And the significance of that is now they're not just looking at the business to pay back the taxes. They're looking at your personal income and your personal assets in terms of paying a portion of those taxes back to the IRS.
Okay. Another text. This is from Martin. He said, "I'm sad to say I haven't filed in the last 6 years. How far back can the IRS go?
Well, the IRS can go back 10 years, and there's so many things that can stop the running of the statute on collections that we have to calculate for each year when they can no longer collect. But you have to get the last 6 years tax returns prepared and filed even before they'll even think about negotiating a settlement with you. So here's the other thing. And this is the mistake that accountants make when they talk to their clients. They say, oh, you got to get all your returns prepared and filed. So they'll go back to 2014. And guess what? Particularly if the person's self-employed, wasn't making estimated tax payments. If you haven't filed and the IRS hasn't filed for you, you have no liability on the books. So don't go back and prepare a return for 2017 or before, because particularly if you're self-employed and you haven't made estimated tax payments, you're just going to put liability on the books for yourself that you don't have to put there, because at this late date, the IRS is not going to go back and prepare that return for you. They don't have the resources to do that.
You know what, Lance, if someone has never been in a position, and I'm talking about a business now of owing the IRS, this is why hiring Lance is, or one of the reasons why, is try getting a hold of the IRS. You might be on the phone for 3 hours. Here you're trying to run a business. Lance, listen, I know you got a phone number that you can get to them a little bit easier than the taxpayer. Is that true?
Yeah, normally we can get through in 3 minutes. It costs us a pretty penny, but in the old days, we'd have to stay on the line an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get through. And a lot of times they disconnect you, or even in the middle of a phone call, they'll disconnect you. So yeah, if you don't want to have to sit there and spend all that time, because you're going to have to make multiple phone calls to get this resolved.
Lance, it's so obvious you've been doing this for a long time. This is all you do, and that is so important. We have 2 minutes left. Tell a person, and we got a lot of people listening today, tell them why they should hire you.
Well, they should hire my firm because we've been around. This is all we do. I'm 71. And, if you go to Google reviews, we're a 4.7 out of 5 in St. Louis. We're a 4.9 out of 5 in Nashville, Tennessee. I've co-authored a number of books. I've given speeches across the country. In the last year, I've been featured and interviewed in a number of national publications. And I think it was in April of this year, I was quoted in an article in Forbes magazine. So we're the real deal. We've grown the office. We got 15 people now in my employ. We continue to grow, so we got to be doing something right.
Exactly. Tell people how they can reach your office.
Well, go to lancedrurylaw.com and you'll get the various phone numbers. I think they're running at the bottom of the screen here.
Yes.
Call one of those numbers and we'll be more than happy to help you. I'm not going to retire because I would lose my purpose in life, and I just love doing what I do.
It's so obvious. Lance, thank you so much. I'm so glad you'll be back again with us next month, and have a wonderful weekend. We're so lucky to have you.
Well, I appreciate being here, and I'm glad you're having me on, Steve. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Lance Drury, he's one busy man, and he'll be back again with us next month. We're going to take a little short break, and we'll be back with our next show.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Benda Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Benda Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We are back. This is hurricane season. And if you live in the state of Texas, you know about hurricanes. We're here in Florida. We know about hurricanes. Season isn't over. And there's so many people who do not know what a public insurance adjuster is. I know for a fact because I tried to handle my claim myself and I was getting nowhere. And a friend of mine turned me on to a public adjuster. It was the best thing I ever did. They got me so much more money. And when you started writing us saying, how come you don't have a public adjuster? First of all, we wanted to make sure we had one of the finest adjusters out there, which we found. Let me introduce you to our expert public adjuster, Javier Santos. Hi, Javier.
Hello, Steve. How you doing?
It's so good to see you. How are you feeling, first of all?
Feeling a lot better. Thank you so much for asking.
Well, I tell you what, last month you were going to be with us and you got sick, and we had people who actually wrote us and said, tell Javier, I hope he gets better. So you've already gotten a fan club out there, Javier.
Awesome. That is great.
First, let's tell people about your company, Santex.
Yeah, so we are Santex Public Adjusters. We're licensed here in the state of Texas. Our whole firm, it's a family-owned business, and we've been established for a while. Our background, again, has always been in the insurance repair industry, in reference to insurance repair, reconstruction, and as we transitioned into public adjusting as well. So we kind of consider ourselves a double-edged sword, where we have the knowledge, the experience, and the background in reference to the true aspects of building a true and accurate scope of work to develop the true cost of the loss and so forth, and present that to the insurance companies. So we've been doing that for well over 30 years.
Well, first of all, that's a long time. You've seen a lot of weather during that time, but it's not just hurricanes. Tell people other areas that you cover.
Yeah, so in reference to us handling any type of property damage claims, so any structures, buildings that have suffered any damages from fire, water, vandalism, storms, hail damage, and also anything in consideration of business interruption on the business side. So we can handle all aspects of any type of property damage or business interruption on a property.
I had people know that your show was coming on, and I had a guy write me, and he wanted to know, do you cover mold and mildew?
In reference to mold and mildew, it's really based on the coverages within the policy. There has been some limitations that have been set forth in reference to mold and mildew. So the coverage is going to be all within that policy, and they could range anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 in coverage.
I was surprised, Javier, that there's so many homeowners, because we have such a large group of homeowners that don't know what a public insurance adjuster does.
Yeah, that's probably one of the number one questions in our industry. and I know it's searched a lot in reference to, what is a public insurance adjuster? A public insurance adjuster is a licensed professional who represents the policyholder, not like the insurance adjusters that work for the insurance companies. We focus on the insured, and we work for the policyholder, the homeowners. We work for the business owners in reference to working exclusively with them to advocate and get them a fair settlement on their claim.
We just got a text in from this is from Sugarland. Is it Sugarland?
Yeah, Sugarland.
And they want to know what the difference is in hiring a public adjuster like yourself versus hiring an attorney.
That's also a really good question. And the way I see it, I believe, and I strongly believe, that an insurance public adjuster should be in the forefront in reference to handling the claim. The job and the role of the public insurance adjuster and the attorney are both to advocate for the insured, for the homeowners, the business policyholders as well. But the main focus and objective for a public insurance adjuster is to build a burden of proof packet, which will include all the documentation, the causation of the damages, and also putting the full reports together to justify what these costs that the insured is facing to become whole again, to bring that property back to its glory and back to its original condition prior to the event. The role of the attorney is, if there's anything that's being based in regards to bad faith, and also any issues that they've come across where it's going to have to be pushed toward litigation. But then again, it goes back to us building a great burden of proof packet for the insured, which can also be easily transferred to the attorney if it did go to litigation and so forth. But there are two distinct roles in reference to always have the first in line, your public insurance adjuster, to build that burden of proof packet for your actual claim that you're facing that might be underpaid or denied. But yeah, there are two roles in reference to the public adjuster and the attorney, more towards the litigation side.
Here's an interesting text that just came in from Slidell, Louisiana. They want to know, do you cover Louisiana?
At the present time, our firm does not cover Louisiana. We are licensed here in the state of Texas.
Okay. Tell people, Javier, how you charge.
In reference to how we charge is basically like most public adjusting firms. We work on a contingency fee, and this fee is 10% of the total settlement amount. That's going to be the totals received on the RCB. In reference to the fee amount, we generally refer to that as our success fee. So our success fee is based on exactly. So, and also what we state too, and what we firmly believe in, is delivering good customer satisfaction and communication throughout the entire claim process. Because it really depends. It could be short, it could be long, it's really depending the communication back and forth by the carrier. But no matter what amount of hours are allocated to the actual claim itself and how many resources we're providing from our side, it's never going to go be above the 10% contingency that we're actually looking at for our public adjusting services.
Well, we just got another question in. Bel Air, is that in Houston?
Yes, that's in Houston.
Oh, okay. This is from Bel Air. They want to know, can a claim be reopened?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. And a claim can be reopened as long as you stay within the time limit of 2 years. So definitely we can always take a look at a claim that has been, that we believe that needs to be reopened, believing that they might be underpaid or have some other issues that need to be taken care of. We can definitely look into it and do a free settlement double check as well.
You know, I this is not a knock on Houston, but we keep hearing how bad crime is in Houston. And if someone breaks into your house and causes a lot of damage, you also do that too.
Yes, we do. Anything that is a covered peril, so if it's vandalism, theft, we can definitely help out in reference to handling the claim process for those as well.
You know, I want people to just, I got to tell you, when you get a storm, boy, you guys get it bad, and there's usually flooding involved. I want people to write your phone number down, because maybe you've never had to file a claim before, but the chances are when you live in Houston or Galveston, you might have to have a claim, and you're going to go, why didn't I write his phone number down? Give everybody your phone number, Javier.
Yeah, our office number is 713-999-1954.
You know, I know a guy, you're going to know this name. There's a guy in Houston who owns a mattress store. They call him Mattress Mac. And I remember when you had that flooding in Houston, and he allowed people to come into his showroom and sleep on his couches, brand new couches there. And I thought that was so amazing. And I actually called him and had him on my show. I thought that was so great what he did. But when you guys get storms, you get major storms.
Yeah, definitely. When we get hit pretty hard, and definitely we're always there for anybody that needs any guidance or any direction with pre-consultation. As always, if anybody needs any help, either in person, on site, or they can call in, and we also offer the free settlement double check for anybody that's received a visit where the adjusters are on site. They give you their actual scope of work, and here's the estimate, and they feel or just feel that they have been treated fairly, definitely give us a call. We'll be more than happy to go see how we can help them out.
You know, a friend of mine just had to buy a new air conditioner. First of all, I heard air conditioners are so expensive now, more expensive than ever before. So if your air conditioner is no longer in warranty and it breaks down, does your insurance cover any of that, your homeowners?
It really depends. Your policy, the inclusions in it as well. But if you have that coverage, yeah, definitely you would be covered for repairs to the AC, dependent on the causation of the damages.
Hey, Javier, these insurance companies are no friend to you, are they?
Things have definitely taken a shift in the industry for sure. And you're from Florida, so there's a lot of stuff that's been happening on the carrier side of how they're acting and treating their clients. I mean, number one, we all do know that the insurance carrier is for caring for their client, the insured, but they're also going to be taking care of their shareholders, and it's been pretty evident that shift of how they're paying out and handling these claims.
Here's Lamarck. That's by Houston also, right?
Yeah, that is by us. That's correct.
So it said that we get a lot of low-level flooding. I thought that was such a great idea to bring up the fact that we can have a phone number of somebody to call, because you never know when you're going to have an emergency. So I appreciate your guest that you have on. And that's really true. We never know when we're going to have an emergency.
Right. You never know when something's going to happen, and it's always good to know somebody that can advocate for you and get you through an entire process and have that number. It's kind of the same thing, in reference to tax consultants and tax attorneys and so forth. And when you're doing your taxes, it's always good to know someone that really specializes in that. And you don't want to just start trying to handle your taxes and all of a sudden a red flag pops up or some issues. Then all of a sudden you're trying to contact them and they're going to do the back homework and try to get you caught up. So it's always better to go to a tax professional and let them handle the taxes and prepare it before it's even submitted, for review. It's the same thing as knowing a good public adjuster where we can, as soon as something happens, it's always good to have us out there in the forefront. It's good for us to be there in the initial meeting when the insurance adjuster is showing up for the carrier side. So that way we can all be on the same page, walk the property and develop that scope of work, that scope of loss together with the actual adjuster and guide them in the actual direction that they need to go in to indemnify the homeowner and or business owner. So it's always good to have these numbers and have us ready to be on their side.
Absolutely. When should somebody call you?
Definitely we get a lot of phone calls and definitely give us a call if you're facing a denied or underpaid claim. It's always good to have us in the forefront, as I was explaining earlier, to have us there in the very beginning. But anytime anybody's feeling that they have been treated unfairly or believe that they're underpaid, give us a call, and that's the best time to engage the public insurance adjuster to get everything. Number one, review the actual policy, understand the policy and all the coverages and what's excluded, and prepare a well-documented burden of proof packet to prove and justify these damages that are needed. But if you're facing even a large claim, a large loss, then at that point it's going to get very, very complicated. So that's the best time also to get a public insurance adjuster involved in the very beginning, because it does get very complicated throughout the entire process in a large loss, because you're not only talking about additional living expenses, you're talking about your content and all the other damages associated, and they're going to have to be evaluations from other experts as engineers and so forth, and your public insurance adjuster like us can definitely guide you and direct you through the process from point A to point B and get you to the finish line.
Here's another text wanting to know, do you go as far north as Huntsville?
Yeah, so within the Texas boundaries, that's where we're licensed, but definitely we do go out towards Huntsville and so forth on large claims as well.
So you do Conroe also?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we have several claims in those areas.
Here's a good one. This is from one of your customers, Gary. He said, I was listening to the show and Javier did an incredible job for us. He got us more than anyone ever could. I'm glad you have him. Is that your cousin, Javier?
No, yeah. So definitely, we're really, really good at what we do. We've been doing this for many, many years, and either facing an underpaid or a denied claim, we've been involved in a lot of claims where I'll give you, for instance, we had one from some tornado damage, and their initial payout from the insurance carrier was around $16,000. We fought that one tooth and nail. We had to bring in structural engineers to prove our case, along with the burden of proof packet that we put together. When it was all said and done, we were so close to policy limits, but they got every single penny that they deserved to get that home rebuilt. So we ended up from 16, and I believe that we're probably close around $275,000 once it was all settled.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely make a huge difference advocating for our clients.
Are you surprised how many homeowners don't actually know what's in their policy?
It's really shocking. That number one, they purchase the insurance. The insurance company usually gives them the declaration page. They see the coverages and so forth, but they don't see the rest of the entire policy. Your policy is built up of the declaration, your insurance agreement, conditions, exclusions. So there's a lot of documentation within it. It's usually anywhere from 40, 50 pages, but yeah, a lot of people have not reviewed what's included, what's excluded. So there's a lot that is missed. And we've had clients that called us in, for a hail damage claim. It was for a motel. We received this policy, and they actually had exclusion for hail damage on the roof. It was in the policy. So
is there something that people should look for and make sure that is in their policy?
Yes. Say it again. I missed your.
Is there something that people should know to go check, make sure it's in their policy?
One of the biggest things that we've seen within these policies, and I was pretty shocked to find, there's a lot of exclusions that you need to look out for. Number one was the biggest one is cosmetic damage and marring of the roof. So that's a big one. And that can actually show, number one, if you have any kind of wind-borne debris from a storm, that's going to be excluded if it hits your roof because of a cosmetic damage or marring. If you have even hail can even be excluded from there in reference to a position that the carrier likes to stand and fight against. But this is always really crazy that exclusion I'm talking about. One of the insurance companies right now had actually lost a case in Dallas. One of the claims that went to litigation, and they found out that actual exclusion was entered into the policy without the policyholder's knowledge. It was after the fact that it was presented. So that one was totally resolved and paid out. But you got to, it's really crazy how the insurance companies are acting nowadays right now. You got to be careful for anything. That's one of the biggest reasons why we ask for the certified copy of the policy so that we can see everything, see the declaration, the insurance agreement, the exclusions, and we can get a better handle on what's happening, how we do our clients.
Javier, your show goes by so fast. The great thing is you're going to be back again with us next month. Give everybody your phone number and your website again.
Yeah, definitely. Our phone number is 713-999-1954, and our website is santexpublicadjusters.com.
Well, we are so blessed to have you. I'm glad you're feeling better, and we will see you again next month on Ask the Experts. Thanks, Javier.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Have a good day.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's Javier Santos. Sorry about the audio. We're going to work on getting that fixed. But anyhow, that's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.